Folks, welcome to the second episode in this LLM Observability series with LangSmith. And in this video, what we will cover is how you can do a more fine-grained tracing with the help of LangSmith. And that we will cover, and we will mainly look into the coding part, how to do that using LangSmith. But before going into that, what we discussed in the last video was we can enable tracing with the help of tracing decorator, and there we mentioned like we can have several run types like LLM, the retriever, the tool, the chain, the prompt, and the parser, right? But in this video, what we will do is, if you want to do more fine-grained tracing, right? So how we can do that, right? So in the last video, you have seen that we have tracked this function, which is generate response with this traceable function. So there we kind of tracked what was the document that has been fetched from the vector DB, right? So instead of only tracing the document that has been fetched from the vector DB, if we want to track this formatted documents, right, where we did some changes, we kind of extracted the page content, then we did some string manipulation, and then we created this formatted docs, right? So if you want to track that instead of the document that has been fetched from the vector DB, that we want to do in this video, and how we can do that I will take you through, right? So let's jump into today's notebook. So this procedure remains same. So we kind of enable this LangSmith parameters in our notebook, and we kind of enable the tracing by mentioning this LangSmith tracing equals to true, and also we mention what would be our project name, right? So we are logging into the same project name, so there all the traces will be grouped and we can easily track, right? So then again, still we are using the OpenAI version of the LLM. We are still not moving into the LangChain or the LangGraph part, so that we will cover in the future videos where the tracing would be much more easier. But the things which I am showing in this video will help you to do more customized tracing, right? So then we create the vector DB, and we kind of initialize the tracing for certain functions, like retrieve document is one of the functions that we will track. So there we are mentioning the traceable decorator, and also mention the run type equals to chain, right? Now if you want to do more custom level tracing, right, so this will help us to track tracing, which not only part of the function, but if you are building a standalone code, right, so there you cannot use this @traceable decorator, right? So then how you can track those part of your system design component or your code component, right? So that will we will see how we can do that. So and also this will with this fine-grained tracing, we can track the custom input and output as a parameter. So there we can mention that, and that will be tracked, right? And we can also pass additional metadata which will help us to narrow down our trace with the help of those filters, right? So that we will see when we go to the UI part, right? So you can see I am importing this new thing, which is from LangSmith. I'm importing trace. So previously we were importing the traceable, but in this fine-grained tracing, I will be using this trace as one of the imports, and that we will leverage, right? So you can see I have removed this @traceable decorator, and now what I have done is this with trace. I am mentioning that the name is the response with formatted docs, and the run type also I am mentioning here. Then I am mentioning my custom inputs, right? So we are passing it as a dictionary. One of the parameter is question, and the other one is the formatted docs, right? So which we are creating in this step, right? So that we will pass here, and that we will try to track, right? And also we are mentioning metadata, which will help us to filter and narrow down our trace in the UI, right? So this we don't need to use it inside a function. This you can use anywhere in your coding section, and this will help us not only track the functions, but your custom code can also be tracked, and the observability piece you can add using this feature, right? So with this with trace, you kind of intend this message part, and you need to put it inside this custom trace, and after that you do the LLM call and you get back the response. And as we are mentioning the inputs here, we can also mention what would be the output or what would be the endpoint of this particular trace, right? So that we need to leverage this custom trace, and then you need to end this, right? And there you need to pass the outputs, right? So we are passing the output in front of a dictionary where we are mentioning the key value is output and the response that we are generating here, right? And so there this custom trace ends, and with this we can track our custom formatted documents as one of the parameter in the LangSmith UI, and that we can track, right? And then we are sending back the response from this function, right? So rest of the thing remains same. So if I just run it, and we will get back the response. So if I just show you now how this trace with this custom tracing will look like, let's go to our LangSmith UI, and there we will move to our particular project, which is LLM OBS-YT, and inside that we will have the last run, which is this one, the rack chain. So inside rack chain we will see that we have the spans or the runs. So if the first one is the retrieve doc, which is the usual one, which was the first function which will do the vector db retrieval, and after that what we will get is this response with formatted docs, right? So the name that we mentioned in the with trace option itself, right? So there we can see now we are getting the input as formatted docs, where the docs kind of joined with string manipulation, and so that we are getting here all the 3 docs that has been fetched. So again, like question was also one of the input to this with trace method, so that is also coming here. So we can also keep track of the question that has been sent here, and then we get the output, right? So inside the output we get more details, and we can see that the model that we have used, that is also coming here, and then we have the messages, right? So inside the message we have the assist reply and the AI message that has been generated as an output. So that we can see here, right? So you can see this is the output that has been generated, and which we also used in the code, right? So if you remember, we ended our trace with this option, right, where the custom trace dot end, and we pass the output value, right? So that has been used here, and that we can see as an output of this custom trace, right, with trace function which we have leveraged, right? And rest of the thing remains same, like we can keep track of the tokens, what was the token that has been used, the completion token, and all those details we can keep track here, and the prompt tokens are also been part of here. Then the last part, which we have also seen in the last video, like the LLM response that has been generated, the system message, then the human message, like the formatted documents that we passed, and the output that has been generated by the LLM. And we can also keep track of the prompts that has or the token counts that has been used for prompt and completion, right? So this will help us to track our custom code, which may not be a function that is part of your system design component, and with this you can track any part of your code, right? So with this I will end this video. In the future videos we will look more deeply into our observability part with some more advanced techniques, right? So thank you, see you in the next